All right. So I am just getting set up for the presentation and waiting for you guys to hop on with me. So this is functional lab testing, and we're going to be talking about tests your doctor doesn't know about, tests you do not get at the clinics, and ways you can finally get real answers and real advice. So I am just going to give you guys a moment to hop on here and we will get started. So you should be able to see my screen. If you guys have any issues hearing me or any problems, please let me know in the comments. And you can chat with me there and let me know if you have any questions. And we will just be casual about this. So we will go through and I'm going to share with you all of this awesome information. So what we're going to be talking about is these functional labs and what the differences are. So what I'm going to show you tonight is what the difference is in functional labs versus diagnostic labs. Why your doctor doesn't know about them, but why they're critical. How you can get real info on your body that may be insight into what is actually holding you back. So what might be holding you back from ovulating, from conceiving, from having regular cycles, or deciphering if your health is optimal to get pregnant and if it's the best it can be, if there's risk for you or your baby. What the best labs are for women's health and fertility, and how you can use them to create a personalized health plan. So that is what we're going to dive into tonight. So those of you that are new to my world, I am Crystal Melanson, and I am a functional nutritionist. I specialize in women's health and fertility, and I am creator of the preconception plan, where I help women and couples optimize their health, mend and maximize their fertility to get pregnant and to conceive. And I have been working in the functional health world really for over 14 years. And I have been working with these labs and helping clients understand what's going on in their body, finding, the underlying causes for many years now. And it's something I'm very, very passionate about, mostly because it has helped me so much in my own life. So one of the biggest questions that people have for me is, why do you opt for functional lab testing over the regular tests that they can get at their doctor's office? So here's the thing. Most doctors will likely only run, blood tests. They do blood tests or different analysis, right? If you're in the fertility world, maybe they have looked at your partner's sperm. Here's the thing. These tests are diagnostic tests. They're very surface level. They're very surface level snapshots in time. They can change. Some can change quickly. They aren't giving us a lot of deep information. They're mostly used to diagnose, right? To diagnose you with a disease or an issue. And so the thing with these labs and these blood tests that you're getting is they're not bad. They're definitely not bad, and it's great to have them. But they're simply not enough, and they're not enough information, especially if your goal is to fix your fertility, fix your hormones, to really understand the health of your body and what's going on in your body. Another difference between functional lab tests and diagnostic lab tests that you get at the doctor is, when that conventional doctor is interpreting those labs, when they're looking at those labs, they're looking at reference ranges from the tests. They're looking at a population of, maybe a few thousand people that are ordinary people, that are the normal, ordinary people. And that's what is determining the right range, right? The normal range. And the thing about that is when we're just looking at average people and what the average is that just because they don't have a disease, right? Just because in the spectrum they aren't all the way over here, all the way over here, doesn't mean that they have great health. And ordinary people today are not necessarily healthy, right? A lot of people are sick today. And so just the interpretation of those tests are different with a conventional doctor often than a functional doctor. A functional practitioner like myself, when we're looking at even those traditional tests, any testing, we are referring to reference ranges for the healthiest people. We want you to have optimal health. We don't want to wait for you to get over here with the disease or over on this side, right? We want you to have optimal health. So what does that mean for you? And when we're looking at conventional tests, so, we're talking about things like blood hormone levels, right? So going and getting your blood drawn and looking at hormone levels, or doing a complete blood count, or doing a complete metabolism panel, or just looking at like your AMH, or doing those tests, those basic tests, right? When a conventional doctor is looking at those results, for example, high blood sugar, they're looking at these diagnostic tests so that they can diagnose you with an issue and they can prescribe something. So they find, they're looking at your test, they find you have high blood sugar, they want to lower your blood sugar, so they give you metformin, right? That's a classic example. They are trying to find a disease or that issue, to put that name on it, and that pill, that medication for that disease or that issue. That is kind of traditionally how this is going to work. Now, when a functional practitioner looks at this, we are looking at not to put a label on you or to just prescribe you something. We are looking at what is that why behind it. So if we're testing your blood sugar, we're looking at your blood sugar markers and they're high, why are they higher? So we are continuously asking that question, why? We see this result, why is it here? What can we do about that? What is the deeper cause for this? So it's never just you have that issue and take that pill. It's you have this issue. What is causing that issue? How can we figure out what that cause is and solve it? Right? So we do that then with the necessary diet, lifestyle, and nutritional therapy suggestions, right? So that is some of the biggest differences between functional lab testing and diagnostic labs. All right. So some of the benefits then between the differences. Functional lab testing is really the way of the future. This is ahead of the curve in a lot of ways because people are waking up. They don't want to wait to have a disease. They want to be proactive. And this is using cutting edge technology, not just simple tests that have been used for decades, but really cutting edge things that are being developed and improved every day, every week, every month to give you the most accurate information. It works, once again, to identify the underlying causes of symptoms. What are the underlying causes of your health issues? We can look to see where there might be deeper blocking factors. So things that are blocking your healing or things that are impacting your health. So once again, to optimize your health, to be the best that you can be, even what is happening that might be stopping you from having that or getting there. And it's really about preventative care. So it's getting rid of all of those symptoms. We want you to get rid of those, but for good. not just covering them up so that, you know, they get worse later down, but for good, right? So what's more effective, right? If you have a hair growing and you want to get rid of it, is it more effective to shave it, or is it more effective to pluck it from the root, right? We want to get rid of it, and we want to get rid of these problems forever, understand why they happened in the first place so that we can get rid of it naturally, but also prevent it from ever coming back or any other issues from happening. So who is functional lab testing for? It's really for everyone. It is for anyone, and it's for anyone who wants to check in on their health, but anyone also just with any sort of health symptoms, something going on that they want to see deeper into. And, you know, it's at what level of testing, it depends on that of the person and the situation going on, right? It's to check in on general health and wellness. So not waiting for a diagnosis, not waiting for that disease, not waiting to have issues, but to check in and see, how are you doing? Let's really see how you're doing. Do we see trends? Do we see patterns to where you're heading, where issues might come up? If you are preparing to conceive, then it is definitely to help you know your best you can be to conceive. It's to help solve fertility issues, all of those things that have gone undetected that are affecting your fertility, and to prevent complications and miscarriage. And they're for those people who have been experiencing trouble. So those that have been experiencing trouble that haven't gotten answers yet. This is something that can help give you that. Especially if you're someone who's been told you're normal too, you know, there's always something there or unexplained. And there's different tests for different reasons. So recommendations can be different for each person. So another thing is, you know, who they come from is very important. We don't just treat test results. So another difference between this and the interpretation, like I was speaking of, is who is giving you these results and with what interpretation. So it's not simply just looking at a piece of paper and seeing, you know, 2 + 2 = 4. We can interpret these things differently. Just how I said I interpret standard test results very differently from a conventional doctor who's looking for disease, right? Some practitioners, even those that are more naturally minded, can still get caught up in like seeing a result and just trying to treat that. We don't want to do that. It doesn't work because we're not taking the whole person into account. We have to consider everything about you, your history, your response, your goals, and what the tests are telling us. So the tests are especially helpful because it's in that synergy together. So we don't just treat test results, we help the person as a whole. So when we see something like low progesterone on a test, we're working to find out why you have had low progesterone, right? What led you to this point? What clues are we getting that are affecting you from producing it? How can we help you? Okay. So with a functional approach and testing, it's an entirely different perspective on your health. So you may be wondering why your doctor hasn't told you about these tests. And the thing is, your conventional doctor doesn't likely know about these tests at all. They're trained in a entirely different world of medicine, right? So they're trained in conventional or allopathic medical model. So within that allopathic medical model, they run mostly blood to test, these standard tests. So it's not their fault. It's not, you know, something bashing that, but it's not the way the medical system is set up, and it's not the way medical schools teach healthcare. It's allopathic, right? They treat the symptoms or diagnose a disease and treat with a medication. It's an entirely different way of working. So they don't know about these tests. So they're not going to have answers for you when they ask, what more can I do or where else can I look? Because it's not in their education. So one thing too is to know that functional labs and a health approach are step number one. Okay. So the functional approach, working with a natural preconception program, definitely, with or without these tests, it's not your last resort. This should be your first step. This should be the first thing that you do, because it's being proactive and preventing you from having issues, from ever going through frustration, anxiety, from wasting money, from wasting time. And I love it when I talk to ladies. I have, a new client that gets that. Like, she wants to prevent ever having to experience these issues. If she knows she's going to get it or not, she wants to prevent ever having to go down that, right? So this is not, it definitely can work as a last resort, but it shouldn't be. So those of you that are starting out and wondering, like, what should you do before, not waiting 6 months, not waiting a year of trying before doing anything, right? This is step number one, because it can help all of that frustration, that anxiety, that overwhelm, wasting the time, that money, that can give you answers immediately and more insight immediately, and preventing things from happening. If any of you have tried to conceive, like the waiting 2 weeks to see if you're pregnant, it feels like eternity, let alone waiting a year or so before you even start to get even surface level insight or answers from your doctor. That's a long time, and there's a lot we can do that's proven by evidence and research in that time to help prevent you ever having to go through that. So what I wish I knew, a little bit about my story. I wish that I could have found out simple things sooner from this. I've been in a long journey in my health, and a lot of things that have had issues in my body, and a lot of things I've had to overcome. And what I wish I knew sooner was that I could have figured out that the gut infections that I had were causing so much stress on my body that I did not want to ovulate, and that I could clear that out. And that when I would have gotten rid of my gut infections, I would have ovulated sooner, likely. And I wish I knew that the imbalance of gut bacteria, that gut dysbiosis in my system, was wreaking havoc on my hormones and fertility for years. And the experience that I had inflammation and immune triggers in my diet, and my healthy diet I was eating, that was actually causing PCOS symptoms and issues with my fertility. I found out that I had low nutritional levels, and I had nutritional deficiencies from use of hormonal birth control. And I had these low nutritional levels that are clearly linked to fertility problems, as well as, if I didn't solve them sooner and figure them out, luckily I did as soon as I did, it could have actually affected my baby's development once I did get pregnant. It could have, I had a higher chance of having recurrent miscarriages, or having a child with tongue tie or lip tie. And that my genetics and my body had to be supported differently. And I needed the right supplements for my body. And because if I was taking the wrong ones, they were actually doing more harm. So I have a lot of experience with this myself, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And these are all things that I discovered with functional lab testing over years, that I want to help make other people not have to do years and years of it or waiting. And so I wish I knew that, with these simple tests, I could find the underlying sources of my irregular cycles, my lack of ovulation, my fertility concerns, as well as many other health problems I had, like digestive pain, and chronic joint pain, and depression and anxiety. that these tests that I did and I finally did, I got real answers. And I went from being that person that they said I would likely never get pregnant naturally to being that person who did, and who did quickly and had a healthy baby because I was really proactive in figuring out these things. And so that's what I wish I knew. And that's why I'm sharing it with you, so that you don't have to wait another day not knowing this and going through the years and years and years that I did to try to figure this out. But you can get a lot more answers a lot quicker. So where conventional medicine looks, right? So once again, it's a great start and it can be necessary, but it's often not enough. It's often surface level. It's not addressing why you're having issues, right? When you're looking at hormones, they look at hormones, but not why the hormones are the way they are, okay? They look at egg and sperm quality, but not why your egg and sperm quality is the way it is. And it's normally not a simple answer. Ladies, if you're getting older, it's not just because you're getting older, okay? And then the conventional medicine, it often forces your body into doing something like, ovulating, or, putting extra synthetic hormones in your body, trying to force it into doing it what you want, instead of finding the reason why it's doing what it is and it isn't doing what you want. And so instead of trying to help it correct itself. And I like to use this analogy of thinking of it like a burning house, okay? So if you were sitting in your office like I am now, right? And you knocked over a candle and your drapes set on fire, right? They set on fire. You would not just get up and walk out of your office and close the door, right? So you're in the other room, you're in the living room, it's getting smoky, it's getting hot. That room gets, too much. So you leave the living room and you go into the closet or the kitchen, right? And then you're in the kitchen, but that's getting smoky and hot. So eventually you have to leave your house altogether because it's just getting hot and fire is everywhere. It's going up in flames. You leave the house and then you realize, shit, my house just burnt down. Like, why didn't I do something sooner? That is what is often happening with conventional medicine. Is you have a symptom, right? Maybe you have a headache, or you have painful periods, right? So you go to the doctor and they give you birth control to cover it up, right? That issue that was causing the painful periods is still there. So that fire is still burning, but you've covered it up. It's still burning. So another symptom maybe pops up. And so now you have, acne or eczema, and you go and you get something to cover up the acne. So you're covering it up, but the fire's still burning. Well, then it's going to get more serious, right? So then you're going to have maybe autoimmunity, and then you're going to have thyroid issues. And then you're going to have, some of us, right, infertility. This is what can happen when we aren't actually figuring out the underlying causes. When you keep just trying to cover things up without understanding what's happening in your body, is often it gets worse, there's still a problem, and then we can result in even worse disease, even worse things that you have to try to take care of. So we want to get to that fire. And that doesn't mean you can't work in tangent with conventional medicine. We can work in tangent with conventional medicine and fertility treatments if necessary, but we need to always be addressing what is that fire, right? So is this making sense? I hope this is making sense to you. Let me know if this is resonating with you guys, okay? So what we do then is, the average woman, right, that struggles with infertility and goes down that conventional path takes on average 4 years of trying, of failing before they go to IVF. And that time they have done likely medications, multiple rounds of IUIs, thousands of dollars and years of stress on their body, because every time you do a fertility treatment, that's a lot of stress, not to mention the emotional stress. And then they eventually get to IVF, right? At that point, it's still less than 30% chance you'll get successful with the first few rounds, each round costing an average $12,000, with most women having to do 4 to 6 rounds before they have success. Wow, that's a lot, right? Think of everything I just said. That just the pain of the anxiety, the overwhelm, the strain, the money, and then consider how this investment in yourself plays into the grand scheme of things when there's a natural approach that's actually proven to help prevent all of this, or can make it successful on one of your first attempts. So this is exactly why it is in the best interest to be proactive and not wait all of that time trying or, doing before you investigate your health and those possible factors that could impact you before they're a problem, right? So let's not wait a year. Let's not wait 6 months. Let's look right now and be proactive, okay? And so where do we need to look deeper? What is it that we're talking about? So some of the things that could be affecting you that are going undetected are deep issues within your gut health, mineral balance, heavy metals, nutritional levels, nutrient levels, your thyroid health and autoimmunity with your thyroid, autoimmunity in general. Autoimmunity is one of the most undetected reasons why someone struggles with fertility, or genetics. So these are the deeper areas that we can look into that are actually affecting you. That can be affecting why you struggle with hormone production. These can be the reasons why you are struggling. If you struggle with egg or sperm quality, these can hold the answers to why, so you know what to do about it, right? You want your health to be its best before you conceive, so your attempts are successful and your baby is healthy. These are the areas that hold answers to what could be an issue you don't even know about. Even if you feel great, that could affect you, right? So for me, I firmly believe myself that I would have had to go through fertility treatments, possibly even IVF, like my mother, if I had not addressed these factors. And I've seen it in my clients as well, and many of my clients that have told they wouldn't get pregnant naturally, that addressed these very things that proved them wrong. So this is the perspective that gets you the results, and how, the whole body is connected at the roots, right? So why this is important for the future. If you wait for a diagnosis, that's when things are so bad. Waiting is not changing, right? It's not changing the diagnosis. It's not seeing where you're heading. It's not preventing anything. When you just wait to get a diagnosis, then what? You have a label, but then what? You have unexplained, but so what do? You have PCOS. Okay, what kind? Why? What can you do to help it? You have endometriosis. Like, why? What is feeding into this autoimmunity, these reactions, right? So that's where we want to go with these tests. So into the actual information about what these tests are. Okay, so my top beginner tests for fertility and health and preconception are these 6 tests are the most commonly used ones. And some people use a few of them, some people use 1 or 2, some people like to use all of them and really get insight. So the first one of the best, initial beginner ones too, especially if you're wanting to just really look into your overall health too, is the organic acids panel. So often called an OAT test. So this is great because it has over 70 different markers. It's an easy urine test. So it's easy for you to do. It's easy to get your male partner to do. Like, you can just pee into a cup, right? Which what makes it get really awesome. And it gives us a really wide range and insight into answers. So from gut health to detox capabilities, neurotransmitter production, metabolism, carbohydrates, how you metabolize carbs and fats, Your methylation ability. So great if you know what I'm talking about. If you have MTHFR, it's one way to see if you're supporting it well, right? Vitamin levels, mitochondrial health, oxidative stress, how your cells are functioning. It's over 70 markers, a huge range that can really show us where you might be having problems and where we can support you better, both for your fertility, but also help prevent disease. So it can help us with issues, but I also like to think of it as a wellness check-in sometimes too, and just see like, what is your state of health like? Are there deeper issues we don't know about? So I'm going to show you what this one looks like, okay? Just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So this is an example of an organic acids test. And of course, you don't have to know anything about how to read it. That's my job. But this is something that is an example. So we see a lot of gut health markers. They have a lot of issues with their gut. So we need to help their gut out. We need to clean it up. That can impact their hormone production, their hormone metabolism, their balance, their ability to ovulate, autoimmunity, if you're able to conceive. We see insights into your diet. So you have a healthy diet. Is that being supported correctly? Are you able to metabolize that healthy diet? Are your mitochondria suffering or struggling? So if there's oxidative stress and damage, which can affect your energy production, which can affect your hormones. Once again, neurotransmitters, mood and anxiety. You struggle with mood and anxiety? Let's look into that. Let's see what's happening and where there could be issues. Metabolizing carbs and fats and nutritional markers. So there are markers on nutritional levels. Do you have B12 deficiency? Do you have oxidative, damage that needs to be supported? Do you have B6 deficiencies? Do you have vitamin D deficiencies? Are you able to produce antioxidants in your body well? It gives us tons and tons of information. So that's an idea of what it looks like. And people love this test for that reason. I like this one for women who are looking to conceive, to find out what could be affecting them, what could be holding them back, but also making sure that you're the best you can be for your baby's development. And it's also a really great one for your male partner too. So it's a big overview at a lower price point. So you get a lot of information to start out with without spending a ton of money. The next one is the HTMA, and this is an amazing test as well. So this is a hair analysis, and it's a test that can help us connect what is happening in the cells. So unlike blood, right, blood panels, where things might just be swimming around, going around in your blood, we're actually seeing like what is getting into the cells, what is going deeper. And it gives us insight into your thyroid, your adrenal system, your nervous system, blood sugar regulation, the speed of your metabolism, stomach acid production, inflammation, your immune system, your detox capabilities, a ton of great information as well. And so what it looks at is, trace mineral balance, but also insight into heavy metals and toxic elements as well too. And there's a very delicate balance between minerals, and I see this balance often disrupted. And so it's interesting how we can see some deep ties into the reproductive system and fertility. Copper and zinc can affect estrogen dominance, progesterone production, minerals that are directly tied and linked to miscarriages. Selenium, important for your thyroid, for testosterone and sperm health. Chromium for fetal development, blood sugar regulation. Iron levels, which are linked to infertility and miscarriage, right? Even when blood tests can look good and there's no symptoms of anemia, right? Because this is deeper. So when we find these imbalances and these toxicities, we can make significant impact on health. And once again, this is a test that has to be interpreted correctly. It's not one that you can just look at and read results at the paper. It's really complicated. And we don't just treat test results. We get information from people's history. And it's always really cool when we start to connect those dots. And this has been really helpful one in helping women achieve a healthy pregnancy. And it's also, when that's a really low price, that can give us life-changing information. So a great one if we have to budget. So I'll just show you like what it looks like. This is one you definitely can't read just looking at, but I'll just give you an idea of what it looks like. And this person that we discovered has a ton of heavy metals that need to be detoxed because it can be dangerous for a possible baby, that they wouldn't have known about, that if they got pregnant, they wouldn't have known about, because, aluminum, mercury, lead, arsenic, without this type of test. And so very, very important information. So an example too is with a client. So this client had very low nutrients, mineral imbalances, and through those 2 tests, we found, insufficient methylation, things that could lead to possible miscarriage, issues with digestion and gut imbalances that affected the immune system. So we were able to identify all of this to balance them out, and her symptoms went away, but her hormones balanced and her cycles and blood sugar improved, and she had more energy and felt better. So these can be life-changing information. So another one is a thyroid panel. I talk a lot about comprehensive thyroid panel because we need all of the info. We need all of it, not just TSH, ladies. That is not enough. And the thing is, it's very apparent that even a mild reduction or like subclinical, mild things that your doctor is not going to talk about can be a huge contributor to your thyroid and your thyroid function. So it might not even show up on typical test results, but it could be a problem that's affecting you and your health and fertility. So when you go to your doctor and you get your thyroid tested, they're likely just going to look at TSH and that's it. And they'll say you're good, or maybe you have some hypothyroidism or, something like that. But the problem is that your TSH level is often the last of the thyroid hormones to budge. It's often the last thing. So you could be having problems for 10 years before your TSH level is out of range, meaning you have a long time to prevent issues and heal and help solve things that could be going on before an ordinary test result will show that there's an issue. And even further, when we look at the test results that are often in a normal range or an abnormal range, once again, this is compared to the general public, not optimal. So we want what's in the optimal range for you and your fertility. So I interpret thyroid test results very differently. I don't want to wait for you to have a disease with your thyroid. I want it to be healthy. And antibodies, so important. One of the most undetected things I see over and over again is antibodies in the thyroid and figuring out what is causing them. One of the most overlooked contributors affecting fertility and pregnancy. A sign of autoimmunity that, goes undetected time and time again. And autoimmunity is especially more common. And if you've already had a child and you're struggling with secondary and fertility, that's a huge thought too, because autoimmunity can get worse. You might not notice it you have the first time around, the second time around after you go through pregnancy and postpartum and then trying to get pregnant again, it can be worse. So we need to have all of the information on your thyroid. The next one I want to tell you about is is a Dutch hormone panel. So you're going to tell me you already had your hormones tested, okay? I'm going to tell you why this is different. So this stands for dried urine test for comprehensive hormones. So it gives us a complete insight into your adrenal health, your stress hormones, your sex hormones and their metabolites, profoundly more info than a blood draw or saliva test. And you don't have to get your blood drawn, you can pee, right? So it's easy. So for example, if you've been told you have adrenal fatigue, We need to know specifically in what way to treat properly, or you can make it worse. If you have PCOS or endometriosis or, estrogen dominance, we need to know how your hormones are metabolizing. We need an accurate idea so that we can help it correctly, because there's different types of estrogen. For PCOS, we need to know your DHEA and your testosterone, how those are being metabolized, not just the levels, because that can give us a sign into how we can help you. So if you have been also, or, have been taking hormones, or you've been through fertility treatments, how have they affected you and affected these pathways? Because it could be different, right? So a different test with a different doctor may say you need more hormones and you may need to supplement, right? But if you don't understand and see how they are being used in your body, it can throw things off even more. So this is really the gold standard in hormones in your body and understanding how your body is handling stress. So I'll show you again what it quickly looks like, but I don't expect you to understand it. Move that down here. So this is an example of a dried urine test. So we see your cortisol. How much are you making? Is your body clearing it out? What does it look like? Tons and tons of information that we can use. So these are the pathways. What is your progesterone? What is your DHA, your testosterone? Are you making more of this type of testosterone, which is linked to body hair and acne and aggression and, PCOS? Are you making more of this type of estrogen that can be linked to, cancers and cysts and fibroids and, estrogen dominance, right? How are you methylating? How are you using these hormones? Which, it can be doing damage to your DNA, which can be doing damage to your eggs or your sperm. We get tons and tons of this information that we can actually use. It's not just, hey, you're normal. Hey, this is fine. What is actually happening in your body? So this is an awesome test. All right, other considerations then, quickly. So I'll just spend a few more minutes telling you guys about all of these. So deeper gut panels. So from the basic, or if you have other things in your history that lead us to believe that we need to look in a certain area, which I help you with when we dive through your health history. If you're a more complex case, we can look into it, right? We can look into it and get some answers. So the gut panel, I personally needed to do this for myself. Like I said, it was life-changing for me, life-changing for my PCOS and getting myself to ovulate and have that healthy pregnancy. The majority of people I work with have gut infections, whether you have digestive issues or not. The majority of people have gut infections, and that can be really life-changing when we're able to work with that. And then genetics. So another one I did that was really influential was looking into my genetics. So if you have, unfortunately, if you've experienced recurrent miscarriages, this should be done. This should be looked into. There's some genes that are linked into it and ways that we can properly address it. So finding out about my specific genetics, I learned that I had to do some things to adjust my diet, to pay attention to supplements I was using, that I needed certain nutrients to prevent issues in my son, my baby when he was born, but also he gets some of my genetics, so what he might have to pay attention to in the future as well. So another client example is, I had a client that made huge changes through a natural program of diet and lifestyle. But she was still having some symptoms here and there, still having some inflammation. So we wanted to look deeper. What could be going on? So we discovered she did have an infection in her gut that was causing chronic stress, and we needed to get rid of that infection. She also was avoiding gluten, but was still having a really severe reaction to it. So we had to understand, was there cross-contamination? Was she being strict enough? Where else could this be coming in? Because obviously it was getting in from somewhere. So we cleaned that up and we fixed that. So how do you actually make these tests happen for you? So how can you make this happen? It's convenient, which is awesome. The awesome thing about it is that they're really convenient. Most all of these tests can be ordered. I send them directly to your house. You take them in the privacy of your home and mail them back. They go to a professional private lab that keeps your information private. And you don't even have to go to an office or go to an appointment to do them. So that is great. Most of them are hair, urine, and stool. If it is a blood, you go to a local lab, but that's not as common. And so that key difference with the results too is it's that personal touch, right? When we're reviewing them, we're not just looking at numbers, but what do those numbers mean? What is the picture that's being painted? What can we do? I think of myself as a detective a lot of times, right? You aren't just told, oh, you're normal, and that's it, right? That's so frustrating. How many of you have done tests just to be told like, oh, you're normal? So annoying. You're given information. You're told about patterns and trends and things that could be happening, right? And these tests are accurate. When you have that expert interpretation, there's that deeper accuracy. So we look at that whole thing and, in getting to the root cause, the underlying issue, right? And in my program, the preconception plan, like we work with all of these considerations. We are listening to your body. We're working off of your history, but then we're working off of evidence and research too, because it all goes hand in hand. We have to have that comprehensive approach, right? And then when you need to have the step, when you want to take that further step, the functional tests, right? And so that's the thing about it too, is that these should be your first step, ladies. Like this should be your first step. This is not a last resort thing. It can be a last resort if you're already there, so don't freak out. But if you aren't, like, let's prevent issues. This is a first step. And I don't want you to go through pain and anxiety and wasting time like I know a lot of us have. And once again, we don't want to just wait for months and months just to diagnose you and give you a medication. Let's do so much more than that, because you deserve it. Like, you deserve to have answers and understanding. You deserve to know what's going on in your body. And so, do you want to know if there's something going on and what that is, right? Do you want to know how to take action? Do you want answers? This is worth investigating. This is worth investing in and worth committing to. So what if it was that simple, ladies? What if it was that simple, that in a few months of healing from underlying sources, from really seeing what's going on in your body, from changing your diet or lifestyle, like what if that changed your entire life? It changed your outcomes. Someone like me who said it would be too difficult to get pregnant naturally, got pregnant naturally, which has happened to countless women in my program, right? What if you could do those things they said you couldn't, or they didn't have answers to? What if you could avoid all the medication? What if you could avoid the expensive treatments? Or, if you went down that path, what if you made it actually more effective, right? Because if you get there, if you are there, like making it actually effective for you and understanding your body and working on the issues that could be deeper and affecting your health in the future. Because when you have children, you want to be around for them, right? And you want to feel good. So once again, personally, like these are things I found out about myself that were greatly affecting me. Like I walk the walk, you guys, I do. I invested thousands of dollars in myself and my health because I know it's worth it. I walk the walk. And I did get pregnant easily the first time. I reversed my PCOS. I have a strong, healthy baby. And I know a lot of it is because of these steps, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing it with you. So I know this is a lot, and I know it's a lot of information you have likely never heard before. It can be a lot to process it. for some of you, I might, some of the words I was using and talking about, it might have sounded like Chinese. So I can chat deeper with you about it. So I want to offer you guys a chance to talk with me, to really chat about your personal situation. I want to give you my time and talk about how this approach and testing could work for you. And if it is the right step with you, like, I'll be honest, and it's not always right step for everyone, I will let you know. We can talk about it. So my goal is to open your eyes, like I have. And hopefully with this information, there's a different perspective that you have and that you can take, and one that can be proactive in giving you answers. So I want to talk with you. You can book your natural fertility breakthrough session. It's a free call. So through that link on the screen, it's a free call and we will chat. I want to help walk through like what could be holding you back, what might be overlooked, clarify how you can move forward. After we chat, at the end of the call, if testing is a good idea or if something else is a good idea that would be more helpful for you, if you're someone that's looking for support, then, at the end of the call, if we're a good fit, I'll let you know and we can talk about an opportunity of working together. But I'm really passionate about how this changed my life and how this changed lives of my clients. And so I just really want the opportunity to share it with you and share it in more depth of how this could look like for you, so we can connect those dots. So you can schedule that through the link, or you can shoot me a DM. If you want, just shoot me a message and we'll just get in contact. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this information, and I hope that you got a lot of clarity on a new perspective and something that you can try. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I just look forward to talking to you all more soon. So thank you guys so much for your time and have a lovely evening.